KCRW sponsors include A24, presenting Moonlight, a film chronicling 3 chapters in the life of a young black man discovering his identity and experiencing first love as he moves from childhood into manhood. In theaters now.
On To The Point, we try to make sense of the policy debates and the political sideshows on the campaign trail.
Neither party's agenda really aligns with who its coalition is today.
It was the dumbest speech I have ever seen in my life of covering politics.
When people walk into a voting booth, at the end of the day, they do say, I really should vote for someone smarter than me.
I'm Warren Altney. To The Point has you covered for the 2016 campaign. Find the To The Point podcast on KCRW's iTunes page.
This episode of The Treatment contains explicit content. Listener discretion is advised. From KCRW Santa Monica and KCRW.com, it's The Treatment.
Where is Karl?
How about that, huh?
We
Terrific
need
film,
Murphy
right?
here.
Please help me welcome to the stage the director, Gaspar Noé. Aomi, Karl. Since you're sitting right here, Karl, I'll start with you. What was your first meeting with Gaspar like?
Well, the first meeting actually happened via Skype. I was walking into an audition, and my phone was ringing, and it said Travis Bickle, and.
Yeah, but because I shouldn't say.
But anyway,
I have a pseudonym.
He's obsessed. And he said, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I said, "Good. How are you?" And I was like shaking because I was so obsessed with Enter the Void. I mean, I really was telling all my friends to go see that movie after I'd seen it. He said, "How are you doing?" I said, "Good." And he goes, "So, how do you feel about your erect cock in my movie?" What? How do you feel about your hard dick in my movie? I said, I don't think I'm going to invite my mom to the premiere.
And actually invited her, but she's not going to be tomorrow night in Portland.
No, she's on vacation.
Yes, how convenient for your mom. So after the erect member part of the conversation, then what do you guys talk about?
Then he was telling me he wanted to make a movie that showed an honest depiction of what he knew to be a love story, you know, in every aspect, and something that he felt he hadn't seen in cinema yet, except for a couple films like In the Realm of the Senses, maybe Don't Look Now. Were there any others that you?
I think that those were my favorite ones, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's weird because in the 60s and 70s, a sexual revolution happened. People started fucking like it was the happiest thing they could do with their lives because the pill appeared, and so everything was easier. But on the hippie time, the drugs, everything was fun, as the cop says in the movie. But this weird thing, some people made movies in the 70s, and since then, that thing that is, I'm sure for all the audience, that's the best part of life. Why it's never depicted on the screen? Or when it's depicted with people who don't kiss. Why people can have sex without kissing? Or when people kiss, they don't have sex. That's very schizophrenic. We live in a Western world, but no, the religious societies are as weird as we are.
And what was your first conversation with Gaspar like? Do you remember?
We met in a party through a friend. What was our first conversation? Because actually, I think we have he has a memory. I have another memory.
So what's your memory of it?
We met in a party, and I was with a guy who's an artist, a great artist, and he's blind. And he was also with a guy who was blind.
But
and
he was a musician. He was a musician.
So
I said, I'm with my blind friend. You said,
but the situation was so weird, and I met him before, but I think we just like hi and whatever, and my friends told me oh, he's a great film director, and I was like, yeah, nice, and then I went and then he told me hey, he's trying to get your number, and And it was like, I don't want to be an actress, so I don't really mind. But when we met again in this party, in that situation, I found it so funny.
It was a blind connection.
I don't. I don't really believe in destiny, but sometimes I'm affected by coincidence, and that was a funny coincidence. So.
But the truth is, then I tried to get her contact, and our common friends contact her, and she didn't want to give her number, and hopefully her ex-boyfriend was an actor and said, oh, you have to contact him. I said, no, I don't care. And maybe he checked irreversible at the time, and she was even more sure that she should not contact me.
No, that's not the story.
And finally, one day, her ex-boyfriend brainwashed her and said, yeah, you have to meet that guy. So finally, I got her Skype contact. She was living in Berlin, and I was living in Paris. And exactly as for Karl, my casting, I didn't go through any casting director. In his case, it was a girl that I really like in Paris, who was very funny. Well, oh, I have your guy. I met him in a club in Paris, and he's the coolest one. And the day I met him, he talked about Enter the Voice. So I said, oh, that's a cool guy. I should call him. And we talked and said, oh, the guy is cool, but I wanted to meet him. Like on a screen, you have a flat image. Here, you had 3D images, so they look more real. But when you watch 2D images, all blurry, you don't really know who the person is till you hear the voice. And it was the same for Aomi. So I had at a point to fly them over and meet them. And when I met them, I said, oh, these are the coolest people. Of course, I was casting other people around and meeting people. Initially, I thought I should make the movie with a real pre-existing couple or ex-couple, because it deals with a lot of intimacy. And I didn't think that the making love scenes were the hardest one. Maybe I thought that the kissing ones or the spooning ones or all the tactile things were harder to portray for people who are not attracted to each other or who are not confident with each other. So I know that he was very worried about the movie, but he liked my previous movies. She liked my first movie. She really disliked Irreversible. That's what she told me. And she liked Enter the Void. She still likes better I Stand Alone. But I met her 1 year before Karl, and she said, I'll not be in your movie. But we became friends. And then I know at a point, people understand that making a movie is like a game. In life, you play games, and that makes life valuable. I like when this one sentence I always keep in mind is Buñuel, one of my very favorite directors of all times, who made Los Olvidados, and the ultimate masterpiece of cinema, Un Chien Andalou, that he made with Buñuel. He said, you should never do for money what you wouldn't do for free. Work is for slaves. And when you make movies, in this case, I decided to produce it. I didn't finance the movie. It was Wild Bunch and co-producer who financed the movie. But the point, as for my previous, is not making money. I don't want to buy a swimming pool. I just want to make movies that I feel are attractive. And I think in their case, they were not greedy. They were not trying to succeed. It's just what can you make in life that is valuable, and to make a movie that is trustful, that it talks about life as it is, makes sense. I'm sure, in my case, I didn't take many risks. I've already done movies that were hated by half of the film critics, loved by the other half. At the end, Irreversible was successful. The next one was a commercial failure, but everybody talks about it. But it's not the point. You come to life, you experience, then you go, and you enjoy the moment. But if you can leave something that is valuable, it's better. And that's what maybe attracted Karl and said, oh, I want to be part of it. And I know that in his case, we all have family issues. I have family issues, he has family issues, Aomi has family issues. But at a point you say, well, let's do something worth of our lives. In his case, maybe because we live in a male-dominant world, all my friends in France wanted to show their dick on screen. And I had to stop and say, no, come on, you're not going to be on screen or whatever. Everybody say, well, I'll be ready, I'll do whatever you want, I'll show my day. And say, no, I don't, please shut your zip. I don't want to see it, I don't want you to be in the movie. And I was, especially when they're drunk, they become very annoying. But I met Karl, and I said, this is a guy that is cool, who's not a sex maniac. Seriously, he's not. He's a very sentimental person. And I met Aomi, who's
right here,
also
Gaspar.
a very sentimental person. She's the most sentimental person in the world. And she's not a sex maniac, and she really didn't want to be in a movie. But also when people say, I don't want to be an actress, or I don't want to be an actor, it's even more exciting. We say that these people are right. They don't want to be showing their face to everybody like everybody else. They say these people are normal. They just want to make life valuable, whatever. But I've been talking too much.
No, not at all, not at all. Let me ask you.
And seriously, I think that because, of course, of the nature of the film, that doesn't depict anything that most people haven't lived here, besides maybe the last scenes in which the couple tries things to save their couple that are risky and they don't succeed. But maybe that's the point where some people can disconnect, but I'm sure that all the rest of the movie, most people in this theater have experienced it. And for a woman, her Clara, or anybody else, no, you cannot stop thinking of how people are going to react. It's not about the movie itself, it's about how the reaction is going to be afterwards, because people are not always good. People are just envious, jealous, everybody wants to be on top. And
yeah, it's not only about the people being jealous or be on top, but imagine like one day I fall in love with a teacher in a school. And his student found out that his wife done a movie like this. Is like he gonna lose all his how you say when credibility or whatever, or many little stuff who doesn't really matter in what it's real. And then also if you find a man who really loves you, he will never give a fuck about this. or for example, I love to work with children. And I was asking to myself like, will this movie in fact kind of, other job, because it's something that open you some doors and close some other. But I still believe like if you really want to do one stuff, you can, and you will find a way.
Well, I have to ask you, because you were talking, one of your favorite scenes, and one of my favorite scenes in the film, is your producer who improvised that whole scene as the cop telling you how you should go and sleep with everybody. And if she's as long as she goes home with you, it's okay. Talk about that.
We made the movie with a very low budget, very, very low budget. The French government paid for the 3D, but we had maybe, 2 million euros to make the movie, plus the 3D camera and color grading, 3D color grading that was paid by the French government because of the subsidy. But we had to shoot in 5 weeks, and with a very small crew. We had no casting director, no makeup persons. At the end we had some, but and we were maybe 25 at the end of the shooting and 10 at the beginning. It was not an economical decision, but I wanted the whole thing to be a family movie. And I put my cinematographer in the movie playing the shaman. I put myself playing the gallery owner. And at a point, I sort of 3 friends to play the cop. And suddenly, this guy who produced or co-produced or financed all my movies, Vincent Laval, who's the greatest guy in the French film production. He's one of my friends and my best allies. He produced Abel Ferrara, Woody Allen, Roger Moore, whatever. And I said, hey, don't you want to play the cop? And he's never been in a movie. He's not a swinger at all. He's got a wife, 3 kids. He's the most faithful man. And he doesn't know that, but he knows guys who are tricky, like the character in the movie. I said, hey, do you want to come and play the character of the cop? And he decided he would do it. And I said, oh, you're just going to improvise you have to brainwash the guy to bring him to the police, no, to the swingers club, and bring his girlfriend mainly, and say, oh, yeah, I'll do it. He's selling movies to people all day long. So people who brainwash, like foreign film distributors, to buy their movie, they're good to convince a young American guy to bring his girlfriend to a swingers club. So he knew how to make the deal. But the truth is that that scene was not in the script. And he was happy to come. He said, oh, I'll do it for you. And he's great in the movie. There was no issue in my mind about American culture, French culture. But also, he improvised, but the truth is that all the rest of the movie was improvised. We had the 7-page script, and when we started shooting the movie, it was just like we had 60 scenes that we knew we'd shoot. Maybe at the end we shot 70 scenes or 80 scenes, and I cut down 10 of the 20 additional scenes, and all the dialogues, almost all the voiceover, and the considerations about how bad France was came from Karl. And all the consideration she has on the screen came from her. And even, there's one thing that really shocks me in the movie, is when he insults her. Yeah, you're a venomous cunt, I'll never be a good mother. I say, oh, that was so mean. So mean. I would never, even drunk on acid, on coke, whatever, I'll never tell a girl such a horrible thing. How do you come with that idea? It's like, you're so much meaner than I would ever be in my worst situation. And he said, no, I just asked Aomi what could be the worst thing a man can say to a woman. And actually, she made his improv. And that's the worst part of the movie. So, and all the things she said, she came with her own words. That's why I like shooting with very short scripts. Irreversible was 3 pages long when we shot it. This one was 7 pages long. Yeah, Irreversible was 3 pages long. They call it a treatment. It's not like a medical treatment, but it's a treatment.
It felt like one, though.
And hopefully in France, Godard, who's Swiss, like Aomi, Godard made things happen in France that no other French director ever made happen. But when I was in a film school, they were telling me, yeah, Godard can make a movie with a 3-page script. And I say, what the fuck is that? And he made movies with name dropping. He said, oh, I'm doing a movie with Depardieu, with Alain Delon, and he got the money. So one day I tried, briefly. I said, oh, I'm doing a movie with Monica Bellucci and Vincent Cassel. And it was this movie. It was a 4-page script called Danger, and it was exactly the same story. But I proposed it to Vincent Cassel and Monica Bellucci, and they said yes, but they haven't read the script. So they said, yes, we got the financing. Like, an erotic melodrama with Vincent Cassel and Monica Bellucci is like saying an erotic melodrama with Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise. We got 2.5 million euros, and they hadn't read the 4 pages. And when I gave them the 4 pages, they said, no, we're not doing it. But we had the money, so we did Irreversible. And I had a shooting date, and the shooting date was like 6 weeks ahead. So I said, well, I have 6 weeks or 5 weeks to prepare a movie, write it, whatever. And we wrote those 3 pages together. In 3 weeks, we found the title maybe 4 days before shooting, and that happened. And in Irreversible, everything was improvised, but I enjoyed the moment. It was a huge commercial success, although it was very violent. And that movie helped me to produce the commercial failure that was Enter the Void, that was maybe an artistic success. But in this case, I said, well, I really enjoyed that experience, which was a successful experience. So let's do a movie with 7 pages. I added maybe 2 pages to the script many years later. And I said, no, it shouldn't be longer, because at the end of that, the movie was called Love, and I found Karl, I found Aomi, I found Clara, and the movie was made with the same pleasure I did Irreversible, or maybe a higher pleasure. It's like doing a collective work. I wouldn't say a piece of art, but a piece of cinema. And they knew, because I had the cinema movies, that it was a valuable thing, that at the end would be rewarding because it was going to be overexposed. And we're also doing a movie that was not far from life, but very close to everybody's life. But the truth is that it was not storyboarded, the dialogues weren't written, and we made the movie together. And maybe I took risk on a financial level because I assumed the production. If there was a grenade in the plane, I was responsible, but they were taking other kind of risks, and I'm happy I made this movie with such intelligent people.
This podcast is produced by KCRW, a nonprofit public radio station based in Los Angeles. We rely on listeners like you. Support the podcasts you love by becoming a member. Go to kcrw.com/join.
Karl, talk to me about that scene where you're saying the worst thing somebody could possibly say to somebody. I mean, how do you say those things with the... Where does that scene come from? You said she helped you prepare for it.
Are you talking about the scene when we were fighting? What could like really hurt you if you have a fight with your boyfriend? And then I saw like all these insults that you kind of hear everywhere, every time. Like doesn't really affect you. Like you're a slut, you're this, or that. They're not personal. And then I was thinking like, oh, if I was in love with a guy hoping to build something after, have a family, or like. And this guy, like when we are angry, would tell me something like this would probably hurt me, for real. Not any other insult that you could say to no matter who has done something bad to you. But when you go to a more personal stuff, and in the context, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you just draw from experience, I suppose. I mean... It's time to go to war, you know. Gaspar always said that he didn't want any violence in the movie, and that was the spot where we could get kind of the most violent, other than like kind of the revenge sex, like the kind of makeup breakup sex, which is a little aggressive, but yeah, you just try to hurt each other as much as possible verbally.
And you did.
And also, she had spit on me before. Where there was a scene where she spit on me, and we had to do it like 14 times. So I really wanted to get back at her.
Because of the nature of the movie, I thought, I don't want a big crew. The moment you have a big crew, everybody wants to be on the set. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 camera assistant always want to be next to the camera. The light department wants to be close to the lights. Even when there are no lights, they always get into the room, even if you use the natural light. If there is any makeup person, the person will come every 5 minutes to cut the mood. If you have a stylist, you always come and rearrange it. So I said, no, if we start this movie, let's start it for 1 week, let's do all the nude scenes with a very reduced crew, 10 people. And for example, I hired one female assistant director, and she wanted to have a second assistant director and a third one. I said, no way. For 1 week or 10 days, you're going to be all alone. It's going to be you and me. That's all the directors of the department. No makeup, no stylists. And there was one cinematographer who did all the light. We're doing the cameras together because there were 2 cameras. But I said, just have one guy to put, if there is one bulb, you will have one guy, that's all. And so for 1 or 10 days we shot, and it was a very intimate mood. And badly, then we need to go to other locations or whatever. But we got rid of all those intimate scenes for which I forbidden even to the boomer to be in the room, or there was one guy doing the sound. I said, okay, you just put the mic, and then you go to the next room and you listen to what's going on, and if there's a problem, you let us know. But I had to create an intimate mood. That's how we managed to do all those scenes. Whether they were real or simulated doesn't count. But when people are nude, and in the case of Karl and Aomi, they're beautiful in the case of Clara and the other actors also. So I was dealing with people who were not upset about shooting themselves naked. But in some situations, it became a bit weird. And the weirdest moment of all those so since it was the first day of shooting, the kiss for the first time that I know on the set.
I confirm.
It's true.
There was no rehearsals, and they kissed the first day of shooting. And then at the end of the day, they say, "Oh no, I have this shot that I want to be in the movie, and let's get rid of it tonight. It's the first day of shooting. Let's celebrate the end of the first day of shooting. You're gonna come on the camera." And he was like that. Oh shit! I met him like 2 weeks before. 1 week before shooting, I said, "Don't listen to your manager. Just fly. You'll sign the contract here. Don't listen to what they tell you. You're a big man, Karl. Don't listen to those people. It's you or them." And I love him for this. He didn't listen to them. He just jumped in the plane and said, "I'll sign the contract. I'll come." And he's happy today. Seriously, if one day someone tells you there's a fight between the director, the production, the managers, listen to your guts. And he jumped in the plane and said, "I'm making the movie." But the first day of shooting, at the end of the day, say, "Can you please come on the camera?" And maybe at a point say, "Why don't listen to my manager? I'm here and I have this French Argentinian guy, I don't know what the fuck he is, but he's in front of me. I'm in front of a huge, disgusting 3D camera with lots of cable coming outside. And it's 10 at night, I'm tired, I want to go back to my hotel. I have to come on the camera." And what I heard, tell me your experience.
Yeah, first of all, Karl.
What he said is that he wanted to fly back to his country.
I believe him. Because, first of all, Karl, I've never seen anybody blush this much before in my entire life. For that reason alone, this is worth it. But what was that first day of shooting like? When
he's talking about creating a sense of intimacy with a reduced crew and all, and all the considerations for the actors.
Breaking the ice.
But but so we're laying in bed and getting acquainted with one another, and it starts off just with a kiss or caress or something like that, and you really kind of start to forget about the camera and all the lights and everything, and you're looking into her eyes and falling in love with her, and then suddenly someone grabs your leg, your ankle, and like moves it to a different spot, and suddenly you're like feeling very violated. And Gaspar's like, can you move your leg a little bit? Right there. Yeah. Okay. Go. It took a little getting used to, but the first day of shooting was it was a little like that scene in the end of Boogie Nights, I think, where Mark Wahlberg's looking in the mirror and he's like, "You're a fucking rock star." I was looking in the mirror like, "This is not you. You are out of your league right now. You don't know what you're doing. You're not a professional." And I did. I wanted to get back on the plane and just escape. And I thought about the crew and how everyone was doing their job, and everyone was really professional. And I just thought, it's my time to step up to the plate, and I would, really regret it if I didn't have the balls to do that.
So to speak. Sorry, you set it up. Aomi, what was it like for you that first day? What did you feel the first day of shooting when you've got to be intimate right away?
Strange, but I must say the second day wasn't better or or worse. I don't know, I was just like, okay, I accept that this is the game to play, let's do it.
I would say there's nothing in this movie that's not relatable to most people's lives. So you're not doing a movie about rape, you're not doing a movie about killing or those things that almost no one experiences besides the one who are sent to war against their will. Start shooting. This is something that most people have experienced. Having sex is a very natural, happy, joyful thing. Maybe one of the most relaxing things besides swimming and dancing. But why do you see some people dancing on screen? Why do you see some people swimming or talking or making jokes? And what's even better, why don't you see it on screen? Instead, you have all these people with machine guns there is something weird about the Western culture.
Actually, thinking about it, I felt relieved about like all the crew situation and Karl too, and everyone. It was like really good ambient, and that helped a lot. It was like, whew.
But you would tell me something, and speaking of making this personal, tell them where the name Murphy comes from.
The name Murphy is just, well, I wanted this character that hopefully was portrayed by the great Karl Glusman to be a kind of extension of me and my friends making mistakes that I avoided, that maybe my friends avoided. But he's called Murphy because my mother's name is Murphy. And it might sound weird, but I was told that Bret Easton Ellis made a novel in which he tells his life, but it's not his life, and you don't understand what's real, what's not real. I read the review, I didn't read the book, unfortunately, but I said, oh, that's a good idea. Maybe I should just put all my names in the movie to make people believe that's my story, but it's not my story. So the baby is called Gaspar. His best friend and worst friend is called Julio, which is my second name. The gallery owner that he hates is called Noé. That's my family name. And Murphy is my mother's name. And the guy who steals his first girlfriend is called Yuyu, and that's my father's name. The girl he fucks in the toilets is called Paula, and that's my sister's name. So I know. But I thought it was really funny. I brought my father and my sister to the screening to Cannes, and they did not enjoy the movie. For some weird reason, it's the first time they did not congratulate me for the movie. And especially my father, he said, that dick coming on the screen, was it yours? I said, no, Dad, I would never do that, come on. It was not me, don't worry.
But to close, you asked your dad to be in the movie, remember? You tell me.
Hey, I understand why his mother is flying away from Portland tomorrow morning.
Yeah, but you said you asked your father to be in the movie, right?
I asked my father to be like, and also Electra's mother was called Nora, and that's my mother's first name. Murphy was her family name. But I proposed, my father came to Paris, said, oh, you're in Paris, you have to play a part in the movie. He was there for maybe 2 weeks. I said, what do you want me to do? Hey, you're gonna be this sleazy, like, Latin American lover of the mother of the main character, and you're gonna talk with the main character about how much you enjoy the realm of senses and how good it is to make good erotic movies, because he pretends he's a movie director, but actually he's a film student. He's a wannabe director in the movie, not you, the character. But my father told me, no way, I'm not gonna participate in this movie. And I said, okay, but he did not participate. And he's very open-minded. I know there's a generational gap.
On that note, let's thank these guys for being here.
To catch up on past episodes of The Treatment, go to KCRW.com or listen on your smartphone with KCRW's mobile apps, or subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts. The Treatment is produced and distributed by KCRW Santa Monica.